Hi, and welcome. Today we are going to learn about the ocarina. So the ocarina was played both in solo and everyday life, such as accompanying a chant to a deity within the family home, or a shaman carrying out healing, or to mimic bird and animal calls while hunting, and more commonly in groups as part of fertility, rain, and other rituals, or possibly in funeral processions and beyond, to call upon the dead, often to help the living. The ocarina role in helping priests, shaman, and animal companion spirits to cross over between these worlds, whilst noticed many years ago for South America, has yet to be fully explored and documented in Mesoamerica. From seeing depictions of hallucinogenic plants on some ocarinas, the instrument may have been used in hallucinatory rituals and ceremonies. By far, the most common type of ocarina from ancient Mesoamerica was the four-hole bird-shaped variety called huacapitzli in the Aztec language Nahuatl. They were so common that it led 19th and 20th century scholars to make a number of false assumptions that were just toys made for children to play with, limited to a simple pentatonic five-note scale, or symbolic just for the four sacred quarters of the world. Since then, however, including serious musicians, have discovered that Mesoamerican ocarinas come in a huge variety of shapes, have up to 6-finger holes, and can measure up to 20 centimeters or 7 inches in length, could produce a wide range of notes or pitches. Even a 4-hole ocarina could generate up to 16 or even 18 pitches, and they were played for serious purposes, particularly in rituals, and often accompanied songs and chants. With their gentle music qualities, this unlikely made ocarinas featured in performances and ceremonies, and more likely played in a smaller setting, like court musicians accompanying a song praising their rulers' exploits and victories. So now here is a video of me demonstrating how I made the ocarina. So now I'm going to demonstrate how the ocarina is played. So you just blow it through this little hole. And I have it as 3 holes, but in other ones there's multiple, but if I add more, it won't work. So the So I got 3 pitches with this one and I couldn't get any more. And so I use it where one hole isn't covered at a time, so that way the air has somewhere to go. But I used air dry clay to make it, and I got like a fist sized lump of clay and then split it into 2 and hollowed the side so it makes a bowl with each. And then when you put them together, then you seal the edges so that way no air can escape. And then you get another about a golf ball size shape, and you put that for the mouthpiece. Then I used popsicle sticks to drill a hole, this hole right there, into it. So that way it would go into the canal, and then made a hole right here like a whistle. I used a whistle hole mechanism as a inspiration to see how that would work, because I've seen videos on YouTube on how to do it. So I just had to get a closer look. And then I started putting holes in it and then blew. But it doesn't work. This one was my 6th ocarina made, but it finally works. And then I smoothed out the holes a little bit so that way it's flatter instead of it being, so that way your fingers can go through it. And then you just blow.
I will be introducing the Chinese zhun. The Chinese zhun is an egg-shaped aerophone that is flat on the bottom. They tend to be made from clay, ceramic, bamboo, or bones. They have 5 finger holes, which 3 are placed in the front and 2 in the back. That gives them about a 1 octave range. For historical uses, they date back to the Xia dynasty, the 1600 BCE. The oldest surviving zhun, however, was found to be from 5000 BCE. More on that in a little bit. It seems to have some mentions in classical poetry, where the zhun and qi, the older brother plays the zhun and the younger brother plays the qi, qi being a flute. Technically, sometimes the zhun will represent the earth group in the bayin, mainly due to the fact that it's made out of clay. Let's see, popularity. It originally was pretty popular when it was first invented, and then it had a pretty major downfall. Since then, it's made a comeback as a more modern zhun, where they make them with up to 9 holes, which allows for a bigger range that spans larger than an octave. That also helps encourage more solo instrumentation for them, as well as also working in an ensemble with orchestras and stuff like that. They're elaborately decorated, so they can either come with engravings or actually be made in animal shapes and have scriptures on them, written on them. So it's pretty nice. They were pretty made for their owner, like their players. So it's nice, and they're pretty rare and pretty prized for those who collect them and stuff. So yeah. How to play it? So its tonic note is an E. Tonic note being with all the holes closed. As you can see in the picture, in the image to the left, we have all holes closed would be 1, and then that would be your E. And then in the image on the right, you have the numbers on the holes and the fingers. Each finger has a corresponding hole, and that way it can match up to the image on the left, which has the fingerings. As we can see, you need a more steady embouchure and not steady. It's best if you work on your embouchure to be able to play it correctly with a good tone, and not many can do that. Or the zhun in general, you can't make them play as good unless it's pretty well done. These are some images from the zhun in history. Both images on the left and the middle are actually artifacts. They were found, and these are more original zhun from before their downfall. The image on the right, however, is actually an image I found on a website that sells artisan things. So as we can see, it's more engraved. It's in the shape of an animal. They're more decorated as opposed to the ones on the left. And yeah, the holes are more exact as opposed to just poking a hole through them. Yeah, and it's pretty cool to see how they've evolved. Now we will talk about the similarities and the differences between the ocarina and the zhun. So what makes them similar is that they're both made from natural materials, such as the clay, the ceramic, and stuff like that. They both have similar display of emotions, such as like lonely and graceful. And then their timbre is pretty similar, actually. Mainly also due to the fact that it's made from ceramic, so it gives it that specific ceramic sound. The differences, however, it's that the zhun It was initially made to hunt wild animals. The hunters would throw them, and the wind would make sound through the holes. This was approximately 7,000 years ago, so maybe that's why they found them way earlier than the original instrument that we know of from the Xia dynasty. Um, and then they're handmade, which makes them rare, as I said before. They're not made with a specific prototype in mind. They are individually made, and each one of them is pretty unique. Which brings us to the Chinese aesthetic of it. So, which it includes the decorations and the engravings and stuff, which really represents their culture and their belief system and everything. And it's pretty cool how they managed to put so much into one instrument, which also serves as an art form. Um, and then we have that it does not have a mouthpiece. As we can see in the top right, the ocarinas from Mesoamerica, they tend to have the mouthpiece, so the player would have to just put their mouth on that, as opposed to the zhun, which, as mentioned before, you have to have um, a good embouchure to be able to have a good tone and make it sound decent. Yeah. And then, yeah, as mentioned before, it's not easy to play it, and that's why they are rare, because you need to find a good craftsman to make them, as well as a good player who is willing to pass on that tradition. Thank you. Here are my citations. So yeah, you're going to want to begin by making a hole, like pushing it in, as you can see, and from there you're going to make it into a flat little like bowl-like thing, but shallow, not too much. Now if it happens like mine, where the sides, the edges start to crack, let's see, there you go. You might want to get the sponge a little bit and not be too wet, but just kind of rub your fingers on the sponge so it can be damp, and so you can smooth those areas out. And then let's see. So yeah, just keep going. They should be about the same size, and then you're going to try and put them together. So yeah, it's not the easiest thing, but you can do it. Alright. So yeah, and just pinch it together. Yeah. Great. So now that it's dried up a little bit, you're going to want to make a little indentation on the top. It'll be like a tiny little like U-shaped thing. So it'll look like this a bit. Sorry, yeah. So it's, yeah, like looks like you took a bite out of it basically. But don't. Yeah, and then just straighten up the edges of it so it's not too crooked. You don't want it to have rough edges, or else the sound will not bounce off as nicely as it could. Once again, like I'm not using expensive clay. I mean, it's literally Crayola, so I think we'll be fine. And then you're going to want to test it out. So completely dry with 3 holes right now.